Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Children's Heart Foundation's At the Heart of Research chat. I'm Jessica Cowan, the Manager of Research and Advocacy at the Children's Heart Foundation. Today, we have a very special research chat. It is Heart Month and Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week. So with us today is heart warrior Billy Lyman, and Billy will be talking about his CHD journey and why our research mission is so important to him. Thank you so much for being here, Billy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be the first kicking off Heart Month. So it's a great honor, and I'm really happy to be part of the initiative here with the Children's Heart Foundation.
Well, we're very happy to have you as well, and involved in so many different aspects of the foundation.
Yeah, you guys are keeping me busy, that's for sure.
Right.
But no, it's great. I mean, honestly, we'll get into the story a little later, but there's not enough I can do to truly give back what this organization has given me.
Well,
so
we really do appreciate that. Well, with that, would you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis and about your heart journey?
Yeah, sure. So I was born 32 short years ago, and with that came a few complications. I guess the first thing, which sort of makes me, is like a fun party story, I guess, or fun trivia fact about me, is that my organs are reversed. So my heart's on this side, my liver's on this side, stomach's on this side. Sorry, I had to think back to high school anatomy. But so I have situs inversus is what that's called, which is like 1 in 10,000 kids have that, are born with that. So pretty unique right off the bat. I also have dextrocardia, meaning my heart internally is reversed as well. And while all that's would be fun and good in itself, I was also born with a congenital heart defect on top of that. So I was born with pulmonary stenosis.
Not to complicate anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
let's just throw it all in there. I was born with, I guess my cardiologist would call it severe pulmonary stenosis, which basically means that I have a weak valve on the right side of my heart where the blood comes back from the rest of the body and then is pumped to the lungs to be reoxygenated. So I was initially, that diagnosis is already, scary enough as it is for my parents at the time. That usually means several rounds of surgeries. They were looking at anywhere between 2 to 3 to 4 surgeries by the time I would get to this point. So I did have one open heart surgery when I was 11 months old. That would have been in 1988. And that one was to take a little pressure off the valve. So just to allow me to continue to live throughout my childhood. Sort of where, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, I guess, but sort of where the Children's Heart Foundation comes in, and really what's bound me to this organization in the best way possible is that I was when I was 11 years old, I was faced with having another procedure, just because after 11 or 10 years, the pressure had been building more on the work that they did in 1988, and only made possible through generous support of the Children's Heart Foundation was the second procedure I had, which is called the bidirectional Glenn shunt procedure.
Okay.
And normally, it's a pretty standard procedure. Actually, it's been around. I'm not, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a researcher. But from what I've gleaned from having this procedure, it's been around for decades. It's pretty standard. It's very well known and very well practiced. But what made it complicated for me was the situs inversus aspect and the dextrocardia aspect. So they had never, the experimental aspect was really, they hadn't really tried it on a lot of kids that had the conditions that I did. So they did research. Children's Heart Foundation, like I said, generously funded that research and made it possible that I was only the 4th person in the world to have this procedure.
With your condition?
With my condition.
Okay.
Yeah. The Children's Heart Foundation recognized that need We are only 1 in 10,000, but you multiply that out
Right.
over the course of humanity, and that gets to be
Right.
gets to be a lot of people. But no, and I'm incredibly thankful that they did that, and I truly would not be sitting in front of you if it wasn't for that. I mean, I think without it, I would have faced the prospect of at least 2, maybe 3 additional open heart surgeries by the time I got to this point. And every one of those is a gamble. I mean, it's a risk.
Absolutely.
You're putting your
Absolutely.
life in the
Yeah.
hands of wonderful doctors, obviously, but there's
There's no
plenty-
guarantee.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I am living, breathing proof of the Children's Heart Foundation's effectiveness.
Did they ever tell you that the valve could be replaced? Like, would you need a valve replacement, or is that not a possible option due to everything being on the opposite side?
Yeah, so we never really gone down that road, I guess. It was always presented to me as, this is this is experimental, but this is the best option,
Okay.
and this is what we recommend for you. I don't know in terms of like the odds of what, or even if it was a possibility of a valve replacement with somebody with my anatomy, but everybody always says oh, you must have been so brave to go through that procedure, and I on the one hand I am, I guess, but to me it's like my doctors are presenting it as you need this or you might not live.
Yeah.
So you
And
do it.
I can definitely relate somewhat to that, because I get the same type of like, oh, you're so brave to have gone through that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ultimately you're just doing what you got to do, right? You're doing what the doctor says. You're not old enough to fully comprehend what's going on. Your parents are saying, oh, you need to have surgery, and you just kind of do what you got to do.
Right.
And there's not too many questions to be asked when you're 11 or even 11 months or 10. Once we get to the ages we are, obviously we make our own decisions and we can understand more. But personally, I don't think it's a matter of being so brave and strong. We just kind of had to do that.
Right.
And with that comes that kind of, I think, mentality. It's just do what you got to do. It's not about being brave or strong.
Right.
But
And I think you see that in a lot of kids like me and a lot of the
Absolutely.
kids of the Children's Heart Foundation
Absolutely.
that helps out. It is scary. I mean, I still remember that morning. That waking up at God knows what hour at 4 or 3 in the
Yeah.
morning, and so we can get to surgery prep and get in
Yeah.
time and start the procedure early. You go in and you're not sure whether you're gonna come out, whether you're gonna see it tomorrow. So
Right.
it is definitely. I'm not trying to diminish it at all.
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
it is very scary, but yeah, as an 11-year-old, I think as a 32-year-old, I probably have a lot more questions.
Definitely,
but
yeah.
as an 11-year-old,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I want to live the rest of my life. I
Sure.
want to get to, I want to graduate high school. I want to graduate college. I want to go on to, I didn't know I was going to be a lawyer at that point, but go on to law school and have a career and have a
Right.
family and have all the
Absolutely.
things that, a normal person has.
Yeah. Our normal is just slightly different.
Right.
But, we adjust.
Mhm.
You're just naturally adjust. It's just, how we've grown up.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's an early memory you've shared. Are there any other memories that you can recall, like any good, bad, other, even with your siblings? How did they play a role in your diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much my sister totally understood. I was 11, my sister was 8.
Right.
She's I only have one sibling, one younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me. I think it was incredibly scary for her as well. Me going in, probably more so for her. I mean, at least I felt I had a little control over the situation, I
Right.
guess. But for my mom, my dad, my sister, I can't imagine what they went through.
Right.
Just waiting for news.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it. I mean, for me, it's like fine. I go through it and I
Right,
do it, but
right.
you know, I guess it hits me when I think about the impact it has on
Of course.
you know, my loved ones and the people that care about
Yeah,
me.
that's the hardest part is I so understand that thought process of thinking more about them than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I have done the same. It's like, are they okay? Because I also have a younger sister who's 3 years younger, and you know, she was dragged to all these appointments, and she probably had, you know, she was scared because she knew my mom was scared.
Yeah.
Our parents were scared, and you know, I feel like we internalize that so much more than what we're actually walking into.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't even imagine how they felt. But if, like, you know, you agree with that feeling, because
And I mean, you know, on the other hand, you know, seeing their sense of relief when you
Right.
finally wake up, you know,
Right.
from the from all the drugs and you know, hours and hours of surgery, you know,
Right.
seeing the relief on their faces, I
Yeah.
mean, that was more, you know, obviously I'm happy to be alive. I want
Right.
to be here, but you know, that is almost, you know, makes you even more gratifying than you even being there, is that, you know, they're just so happy that you went through this and
Yeah.
you've gotten through it. And you know, obviously in the moment you wake up from surgery, you don't know that everything's okay, you don't know that
Right.
it was necessarily successful,
Right.
but you know, you have your loved ones there and they're just happy to see you, and that's all that really matters.
absolutely.
But yeah, to play off your question before, you know, I think my sister, even though she was young, you know, I think she was a great support system. You know, not everybody knows. Everybody knows, I guess, what goes into surgery. You go into for 8 hours, you know, or however long it takes, and then you're in the hospital for, you know, a week at
Yeah.
least, if not a lot longer,
Right.
And then a recovery period of months. I mean, it's not an easy process.
No.
Your entire chest hurts. Like I have a vivid memory of this is 1998, mind you, and I think Jingle All the Way had just come out with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
and I think Sinbad's in it. But they put that on. They put that movie on. You know, as I was recovering, when I think a few of my cousins came to the hospital and put it on, and you know, I was like, I was trying not to laugh, but I mean, it's a funny movie. And I was like, you got to turn it off. You got to turn it off. I can't laugh, you know. So it was just really hard for me because I love to laugh. But no, I mean, I think my sister, you know, just spending time with me,
Yeah.
you know, while I was home after the procedure.
Would she take care of you and get you what you needed? And
Yeah,
all
yeah,
kinds
anything I needed. Obviously, I was stuck in one position for a long
Right.
time. So both my sister, my mom, my dad, you know,
Yeah.
dropped everything to help me. And even, you know, when I went back to school, like, I remember a ton of my friends were, you know, I couldn't carry my backpack, so a ton of my friends were helpful.
Oh, that's really nice.
In, you know, shuttling me from class to class and making sure, you know, I had everything
Yeah.
and making sure I got back on my feet. And I don't remember, you know, exactly how long it took, but I mean, I want to say I had my surgery in December, and I want to say pretty much the rest of the school year
Yeah, I
was
wouldn't
feeling
doubt
some
that.
effects of it.
What grade were you in at that point?
That grade, 1998, I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
So I was just
Okay.
starting middle school.
Right. Okay. So you missed some of that year,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
when you went back.
So yeah, I think we timed it to coincide with like winter break. So I'd like to get the 2 weeks, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
I missed a significant portion of classes after that, which I had to catch up with, and thankfully my teachers were very understanding. You know, everybody, my classmates could not have been more supportive. I remember getting a poster board sized card with literally like the entire 6th grade had signed
really
it
nice.
with really nice well wishes, and it was incredibly nice. And I know not everyone has the support system that I did, and
Sure.
it is, you know, a lot harder for some people, but I feel incredibly lucky and non-deserving of what I have. But
Well, did your parents just explain everything openly to you and your sister? Were they always like making sure you knew what was going on?
regarding my
Yeah,
condition
like
or like the surgeries,
Doctor's appointment, surgeries.
Yeah.
anything in between?
Yeah, my parents were always very transparent and forthcoming with me. I mean, I obviously being present for
Right.
those appointments, I was sort of privy to that information. But there were difficult conversations that I'm
Sure.
sure I was shielded from with regard to, when I was 1 year old or 11 months. Obviously,
Right.
I wasn't comprehending what was going on. But when I was 11, I don't remember vividly, but I have no doubt that there were, conversations regarding life, the odds of this procedure and what are the best options that Dr. Mavridis at formerly Children's, now Lurie, and I had with my parents going into the surgery where I wasn't present. But they, I think they laid it all out for me, even if I wasn't present, and made sure it was ultimately my decision whether I wanted to go through with it or not. And like I said earlier, I think it's just, for me, it was like life or death, and I'm always gonna, if those are the two options, I'm always gonna choose life. I want to be here. I want a very fulfilling life, and that was a step towards getting there.
And that's what we all want,
right.
All of our CHD patients. It's the normal, the normal thing, which makes perfect sense. You want to be looking forward, and a lot of the research that's been funded through the Children's Heart Foundation allows us to do that. So we're living longer. Different research 3D printing or different technologies or like patches that grow with you are being funded, and it's just amazing that we can see that as adults.
Yeah, no, I mean, we are living, breathing proof of the success of research and how far we've come. We're treading new ground. There's a whole generation of adults now that were born with CHDs and have gone through multiple procedures and now are able to live their lives.
Exactly. And it's exciting.
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, the odds just keep getting better and better, and the technology, the medical science out there just keeps getting better and better. And that's a true testament to what the Children's Foundation or Heart Foundation does. They without research, we don't get any of this. We are not sitting here talking. And that really makes you think about the impact that we can have going forward.
So how did you first hear about the Children's Heart Foundation?
So I was introduced to them through Children's Memorial. For my whole life, my cardiologist has been based out of Children's Memorial Hospital, now Lurie Children's, here in Chicago. And I think my mom must have seen a flyer or something around the hospital. And it just so happened that Betsy Peterson, the founder of Children's Heart Foundation, was from Highland Park, which is where I grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago. And, just my mom, found out about it. Obviously, it's right in our backyard, and we knew immediately we had to get involved. Even before I knew they were going to fund my, my second surgery or the research that led to my second surgery. In the mid '90s, we started going to all the events. We started, I remember I'm the co-chair of the Hearts at Play event for the Children's Heart Foundation here in Chicago in the Illinois region, and I took on that event because I remember how impactful of an event it was for me as a kid. Going to the Museum of Science and Industry, Adler Planetarium, Field Museum. Traveling around, getting to go see all these really cool museums. It sort of makes you, it took you away from the stresses of your conditions and thinking about how far whether you'd see your graduation or how far you would get in life. You didn't think about that. You thought about playing around in the exhibits with all your friends, and
that was a support system. And during that time, those were the only types of things for patients and even parents who had kids with CHDs. That was the only way that you could actually feel like you were in the same space as people and parents and patients like yourself. I mean, there was no Facebook, there were no
Right,
Facebook
right.
groups, there was no other really formed group that was of support.
Maybe like AOL. I don't know if that counts.
I don't know. I don't know if there were any CHG chats in there, but the foundation was the support for us, and where we were I was so excited to always go to those events, and it sounds obviously like you were as well, because it was a safe space. You could be yourself, and you had, friends running with you and understanding when you had to stop and take a breath.
Right.
So early on, all right.
That's
awesome.
I think it helps to have that, because when you're at school, I'm very fortunate that I had very few limitations other than, just me having to stop when I was out of breath, and I really couldn't do contact sports. So my career as a football running back never really took off. But
in gym class,
for another day.
Gym class, you were got to sit out sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And that's like the worst class. No offense.
I enjoyed it. I did
was
enjoy
bad
it,
at gym, so.
but no, it was nice every once in a while to not have to do anything.
Right.
But your classmates don't really understand. Like, why is Billy standing on the side of on the sidelines? Why is Jessica not participating?
Exactly.
They don't really get it, especially when you're a kid. You're not as perceptive as you are as an adult. But
were you like the only kid with a CHD in your class?
Yeah, I was growing up.
Too.
Yeah.
So that puts the stigma of further questioning on, why can't you run? Why can't you do the mile? Why can't you do this? So,
right.
But you seem like you had a wonderful support system of friends, and
I did.
That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you get to be like middle school age, people start to understand those issues a little more. I mean, I don't know if in 6th grade, they would have understood if I just stopped playing, or they would have given me any sympathy, being in an environment at Hearts at Play, or wherever the Children's Heart Foundation was having an event, and just being with people that could sympathize and being with people that understood your issues is really helpful. Having that community to lean back on. Really makes it easier to go about your day to day.
Yeah, it's fun seeing your doctors outside of their offices too.
Yeah, it is.
And
it is.
It's totally different, and it's exciting. Like I was always excited to see my doctors out of their office.
Yeah. There's always that the big weight hanging over your head every time you go into the hospital or into the doctor's office. There's always in the back of your mind. So being able to free yourself of that and just engaging with them in a totally different environment is really cool. Although I will say my cardiologist, Dr. Weigel here in Chicago, he's always been very playful. Even I still go see him as a 32-year-old. I still see the same cardiologist I saw when I was 1, which is awesome and great that he keeps you for life. Yeah. But still jokes around with me just the same as I'm 32 as he did when I was a kid, and that really helped make a really hard situation a little lighter. Sure. And I think even for my parents too. Not only like Dr. Weigel was great with my mom and my dad joking around, but just having for them too, the Children's Heart Foundation was a great resource and a great support system. I sort of like what we were saying before, I was just going through it. Whatever had to happen, I was doing it. But they for the most part was outside of their control, and they had to grapple with the fact that their son might not be around in a few years, and if this procedure, something goes wrong in this procedure, or which happens all the time, unfortunately. Their son might not see tomorrow. So having them having a support system, meeting other parents at these events, it really makes a huge difference.
So why is the Children's Heart Foundation's mission so important to you? Aside from funding research, and we know to fund the most promising research, but why is it important to you?
Well, I mean, I think I can't divorce the fact, I can't divorce it from, the impact that it's had on my life. put simply, I don't know if I would be sitting here today if it wasn't for it. The funding that Children's Heart Foundation provided led directly to a research project that led directly to a procedure that wasn't available until this research project that I had that led me to, it led me to, I'm trying to think about the years, 21 more years, and still counting, and the possibility of a full life, living till, till other people, a normal life expectancy, but just more so than that, I mean, I want every kid to have that, I want every kid to be able to experience life, and I think that's a struggle. I mean, it's not a guarantee. It wasn't a guarantee for me and for every kid born with a congenital heart defect.
And it's not going to be a guarantee, unfortunately, ever.
Right.
And we do realize that. At the same time, we still are going on with our lives, and you're a successful lawyer, and you
marginally successful.
well, you're in a profession where you got through school, you didn't let your CHD stop you from hitting those milestones. Some people, some other patients might not suffer, but might struggle with that greatly, and the motivation or whatever it is with their CHD might not propel them to keep moving forward, to do, to go to college, to whatever it is. So that's huge.
Yeah.
The milestones are huge, and we always celebrate the milestones. We celebrate, our operation birthdays. We celebrate everything.
Right. And as we should,
Absolutely.
It's been a long journey, and it's been a long journey to get here, and we've gone through a lot, but we shouldn't forget about how we got here. And not forgetting, and part of that is remembering the Children's Heart Foundation. I mean, yes, there's no guarantee. It's not ever going to be a guarantee.
Right.
We're never going to get that percentage to 100% survival rate.
Right.
But at the same time, that's not a reason to throw our hands up and say, let's not do anything about it. We can keep working that percentage down, and even I don't know all the statistics. You probably know more statistics than me, but we've taken significant chunks out of that fatality percentage for CHD kids born with CHD, and just even not even expanding it from life or death. Think about all the other complications that come along with children's heart with congenital heart defects.
Right.
But all the other complications, the psychological complications, the other physiological complications. There's so much more than just getting them, getting them to their 12th birthday, getting them to their 20th birthday. There's so much more that goes into it, and we're just really scratching the surface right now. And
Definitely.
I think it's the funding that will get us to explore these new grounds and possibly find other ways we can help the kids that may not have the support system, that may not have the motivation, that may not that may have. I say it 1,000 times. I'm incredibly lucky that mine was sort of straightforward. I was very fortunate not to have a lot of other complications, but majority have more complications and go through a lot more difficult experience than me. So having that research to assist them in any way possible, and assist them with all the other issues that may accompany their CHDs is just incredibly important.
So with that, what do you want other CHD patients to know? Like, what is some advice you would give them? Or just what do you think would benefit them knowing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've always, I've spoken at a few things, and I found the most, spoken at a few Children's Heart Foundation events, and I feel like I found the most impactful things that I've said, where parents are coming up to me and kids are coming up to me afterwards have been, it's scary. It is an incredibly scary experience. I didn't know, when I was going into the surgery when I was a kid, I didn't know if I would see my 25th birthday. I didn't know if I would ever, go to law school and have a career or have the same life expectancy that my peers had, get to accomplish all these goals that I had for myself in life. And I had no idea, but I'm living, breathing proof that that's possible.
Right.
And that you should never give up. Science is coming. It might not be here fast. It might not be progressing at the rate that we, of course, want it to.
Sure.
Being the Children's Heart Foundation, supporting all this research, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to do so many magical things. And I guess just be strong. Like that. It sounds like easy and simplistic, but your strength will carry you through.
Yeah.
And I am a testament to the success of the Children's Heart Foundation, and I want every kid born like me. There's thousands and thousands of kids, millions of kids out there.
Yeah.
1% of the population. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's still the number one birth defect, and
Yeah.
hopefully
But
that would change one day.
I hope so. But I want everyone when they're 32 years old to come and shake my hand and say I made it, and I'm science got me there, and this research funding got me there, and I'm here, and I'm have the ability to live a full life.
Yeah, that's great. Any other thoughts as to what you would like to see in the future for the foundation?
Yeah. I obviously growth. We want to grow our funding base, and
We want to fund more research.
Right.
Always.
The faster we fund it, the faster it happens,
Right.
and the faster we create healthy CHD adults like me and
Right.
you.
Yeah.
It's just that simple, really. But no, I think just generally, I think. We can grow awareness of it. I think it's the number one birth defect,
Right.
and very few people know about it. And it's great that we have the membership base that we do, and it's incredibly strong. And I love everybody that's a part of it. But for the most part, the people who are part of it have some sort of personal connection to it.
Right.
They have somebody in a child that has
Absolutely.
it. They have it, or they have children's heart or congenital heart defect. A friend has it, a neighbor has it. There's this personal connection, and I'd love for us to get beyond that,
Right.
and just have it be a recognized issue throughout society.
Exactly. I second
and
that for sure.
We're not trying to compete with other charities or compete with other maladies that humans can have, but I just think it's such a forgotten issue. Getting to that point where there's just common awareness of it, I think, is what we can build to, and with that awareness comes understanding, and with that understanding comes a want to help, and grow that science and grow that research.
Yeah, and that's perfect, and that's exactly what we want to do. So. With that, I want to say thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for allowing us into your office, which we forgot to mention. This is your office space.
Yeah, it's a nice space.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
really
my bosses
cool.
will be happy that it got a prime placement in
Yeah,
the
for sure.
Heart Month
Yeah.
research chat.
Yeah,
so
definitely. So thank you for having us here as well.
You are very welcome.
And I want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and happy Heart Month.
Happy Heart Month,
See you next
everyone.
time.